What is that controversial thing you avoid talking about publicly?
I think it's a religion.
So you said something that because you were dark skinned, because you were a male, he was not put in front of the camera.
We do have like a colonial hangover as a country. When people are trying to put you down constantly, you're also like, I'm tired of this and I want to fight this and I want to prove to the world and to myself, most importantly, that I'm more than just what you're defining me and the labels that you're sticking on me.
He's a content creator. He is a living traveler. He changes people's lives by telling their stories to the world.
People usually who make comments on social media, people who are hiding behind themselves, forget hiding behind the world, they're hiding behind themselves.
Vanakkam, welcome and Morians to Purely Personal Podcast. This podcast is not about getting that job. This is not about getting that promotion. This is not about starting your own business. This is about your personal brand. When you have your own personal brand, you can do all of these. My name is Daniel Paul. I'm a personal branding coach, fractional CMO, and a content creator. Hello, everybody. Today, we have an amazing guest, and he is my friend. And he's the man who has told 350 stories. And he's my favorite, not just mine. He's a favorite of some Hollywood stars as well. He's the best storyteller and an amazing person to be with. Welcome to Purely Personal, Sai Sethu.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be on this podcast, Danny.
You have told 350 stories already. So that is 350 people and a lot more to come. Why are you telling people stories and how does it make you feel?
I think the biggest education one can have as a creator is learning from other people. And I'm looking at this journey of content creation as a journey of self transformation and not just chasing followers and engagement, even though that's one of the parameters I'm chasing, but it's not the priority. It's also the long term transformation that I can acquire from this journey of creativity and storytelling. And I think telling these stories teach me a lot of life lessons and teach me so much knowledge about so many different subjects that I couldn't have known from the comfort of my home or from a different corporate regular job. And it has truly changed and honed the way I look at the world, perceive the world, and has changed my worldview, and it's given me umpteen perspective about so many different things. I see the world through a much more nuanced lens, and I think the best way to do that is to learn from people and tell stories of people. So yes.
And Sai, you said that you are looking for a transformation. What is the transformation looking for?
What is a transformation?
Yeah, what is the trans? You said like you're looking for an internal transformation. You're not chasing followers. You're just looking for this transformation. What is that transformation?
I think the transformation is just growth on several aspects, like growth of perspective, gaining a lot of knowledge. It's just like jumping into an ocean and just soaking upon all the things that the ecosystem has to offer for you. So I'm just like deep diving and just trying to soak in as much of learnings and knowledge and experiences. I don't know if there is an end goal to a particular transformation that I'm particularly looking for. It's not a definition that I'm looking for, but I do know that I do have the idea that if I go out of my comfort zone and if I have all these experiences and meet all these people, that I'm about to transform. I know that for sure. I don't know how I'll transform. That I'm just going to leave up to the universe, as they say.
I know that when you started creating content and now you have, as a person, as a creator, your transformation has been growing month after month. But where did this all start? Because I know you love storytelling. Where did your journey start?
I think my interest towards people, my affinity towards people is something that comes innately to me from even from a very young age. But I I didn't see myself. I didn't see this as a career as such. But after I finished my engineering, I did journalism, and then I joined the mainstream television media. I was writing current affairs news about politicians, entertainers. Usually, the news cycle is dominated by politicians and entertainers, at least in India. And I just thought that there's a lot more to India and also the world at large than its politicians, than its entertainers. So I just got doing some research, and I just discovered about the infinite diversity that comes along and the plurality of the vast Indian landscape in terms of textures and colors and clothes and lifestyles and foods, etc., etc. And I thought that I should be the one experiencing these things and filming these people who otherwise do not get a platform in the mainstream media. So I just wanted to create a platform where I can tell the stories that I want to tell, meet the people that I want to meet, and also give a platform to the people that who I think don't have a voice and but are extraordinary in their ordinary ways.
If we go 5, 6 years before, you were an employee, you had an employee background, and I know that you transitioned from an employee to a content creator. So you're no longer a salary guy. How did this transition happen without any backup?
I think I did have a backup of sorts, like at least psychologically, subconsciously in my head. My dad comes from I come from a very stable financial background, so I did feel like even though I would have indefinitely taken a risk inevitably, but still I had the subconscious thought process at the back of my head saying that worst case. Dad would help me a little bit. That's something I thought, but that is still a very small percentage of it. I think I didn't think so much about stability and money. For me, it was all about life is short. I mean, I was pretty mature at 25, 26 to know that life is short and I have to seize the day, and I have to chase my dreams, and it's very important for me to do something meaningful and something with purpose and something that really fuels my passion and my interests and takes me to places that I cannot expect. So I like that. I like that. Uncertainty in a way, the positive uncertainty. Anything could happen on social media. I like the idea of anything happening. I like the idea of people that you don't even know watching your work, and I like the idea of yeah, just dreams coming to life and chasing dreams. So I think I followed that pursuit more than stability or anything like that. But on the other side, if I have to, on the flip side, it is not easy to, I 1.5 years into my journey, I didn't even earn like 1 rupee. So that's really hard. I had to bank on my savings, take some money from my dad, and there is a different kind of uncertainty about when you don't know when you'll be able to fill your pockets back. And social media is something that was just evolving and booming. There was no certain ways and rules as to how you can earn money. So that was definitely scary. So it does come with its own cons, but I think all risks do. And I think if you stay consistent with what you believe in, and you'll definitely get where you want to. Like, yeah.
Yeah, your traditional job, I would like to know a little bit more. Why did you quit that and transition here? What was that is not so fun about that traditional job?
Many things. You get lost in the rat race. I thought like we are just another cog in the wheel. No matter how much work you do not have your own identity, or if I have to say personal brand. And apart from that, you're not paid as much as you work for. And the corporate climb, even in the news media cycle, is also very slow. There are lots of factors that depend on it. They wouldn't put me on screen because I am dark skinned. They wouldn't put me on screen because I'm a guy and a dark skin. So it's like double whammy for me. And so all of these things bothered me a lot. I'm like, you're trying to question me based on something that I'm born with, and you're not giving me opportunities just for the way I look. That is like very small minded and short sighted. And that itself is red flag enough for you to leave any organization. And that was happening in different organizations. Not everything that I worked in, but some organizations had a problem with my skin color and putting me on screen. And the other thing is like the stories were so like centered on politicians and entertainers, and our world is more. I mean, we have like 7, 8 billion people, and uh, the diversity of humans is insane and almost infinite, and the diversity of ideas is also like that. So why are we limiting ourselves to just entertainers and politicians largely? I think it should be more than that, because stories like the ones that I tell can give people a lot of perspective and give people a lot of inspiration. I think that's what information should do at its core. And yeah, I think these are some of the reasons why I departed.
I want to address something because we have an international audience for this podcast. And I come from India and you come from India. We are dark skinned in general. But there's something that people outside of India doesn't know. So you come from a journalism background. You were a journalist. So you said something that because you were dark skinned, because you were a male, you was not put in front of the camera. So, can you elaborate for those who might not know what dark skin in India means and why didn't you get the opportunity? It's important because there might be so many journalists who are really
Yeah.
talented like you, but never get the opportunity to be in front of the screen. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
I think we do have like a colonial hangover as a country. We do have this obsession with white skin. It's changing, of course. Now people are really embracing colors of all kinds, but still there's a long way to go. I think the outlook on dark skin people starts even when you are super young as a baby in India. As soon as the baby is born, when they have a conversation about the color of the baby, in any language, they would be like, the baby is low color, and that would mean, like, I'm not translating it exactly well, but they would be like, the color is not up to the mark, and I'll just be like, what does that even mean? Like, you're trying to like compartmentalize someone's identity as soon as they are born, and trying to judge them as soon as they're born. I think that is how deep the whole colorism in India runs through, and it's even worse in like the third, fourth tier cities and towns in India. But it's of course changing. We have a long way to go, and I do think it is because of a colonial hangover. We are somehow, and it comes from a lot of history and colonialism and all of that. So I think that somehow, even as a person or a dark skinned person in school or in college, you do, in your teenagers, you do feel a little bit inferior because you're dark, because you've always been told that, you've always been stuffed with those thoughts and ideas into your mind when you're growing up, and it becomes part of you until you have the awareness that there's nothing wrong with your dark skin. You're just like everybody else, and that comes with a certain awareness, and that comes with a certain exposure, and that happened only in my early 20s. So in the first 20 years, you're just at a position where you're already feeling inferior, and you're doubting yourself with so much skepticism just because of your skin color. And I think that's super common in India. And when this happened to me, the same thing in a very capitalistic news organization in New Delhi, I was not surprised at all. This is something that is very much in the thick of our Indian society and Indian culture. And so when that happened, I was able to identify and be like, hey, uh, the problem is with you and not with me. So maybe I should leave and, pursue better opportunities. As simple as that. I didn't even take it personally. I was like, yeah, the problem is you. I'm no business here. And I just left. Yeah.
I love it. The problem is you and not me. But this is also a very important topic. Sai, now you are a person who has the influence to inspire people, to make changes with the amount of following that you have. So, what would you tell to youngsters that are dark skinned, that are being bullied, but they are very talented? They are worth, way more than people of, any skin color. What is your message for them? How can you inspire them?
I think when you go through these traumatic experiences like these, the degree of trauma is obviously varying from person to person. Trauma comes from different places. Teenage can be hard, childhood can be hard, from broken homes, or when you're subjected to stuff like what I have, bullying or anything like that. I think when you go through traumatic experiences like this, you have this very rich energy within yourself, that you're obviously doubting yourself, and from that also comes a certain fire where you want to prove to yourself and to the world that you're worth something. Okay, when people are trying to put you down constantly, you're also like, I'm tired of this, and I want to fight this, and I want to prove to the world and to myself, most importantly, that I'm more than just what you're defining me and the labels that you're sticking on me, right? So I think the main advice would be to use this energy effectively, and because it's like very precious, and when you use it, you can do wonders. Is what I often see, and it's often what I spot in lots of success stories, is how they channel this negative energy that was thrown at them into something that could really recharge them and take them to places that even they didn't believe they could go. So I think I would suggest you to utilize that energy and channelize it positively. Yeah.
And you, as a person with influence now, have you ever thought about 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the lane? You want to start for something, you want to start like an organization, association for some youngsters who are going through bullying or, colorism. Have you ever thought about that?
I haven't actually. Although I do try to, interject all these narratives into my stories. I tell them through a story format. Suppose if I am coming across change makers who are addressing these issues, I will put my 2 or 3 cents into that particular narrative, into that particular story. So basically, I'm trying to tell my story through another person's story, and that's something that I do very often as well. That may not seem very obvious to people that don't know me very well or to the audience, but it matters to me. You
Oh,
know.
it's really nice how you told this. For those who haven't watched Sai stories, Sai tells stories about people that are mostly from rural villages. Of course, he also talks about people that are from cities as well. But he tells stories and he interjects these phenomena into these stories. So by the end of this podcast, we're going to be sharing your Sai's social handle. You can see how amazing these stories are. So, as a
Yeah.
content creator, this is something that I've spoken to a lot of content creator, and they don't think online presence as personal brand, because personal brand is a term which is super confusing. People are like, "What is a personal brand? Is it my image, or it's my bio?" So you and On the Ground with Sai is a brand that resonates across the globe. You have millions and millions of views every month. Some of the biggest celebrities in the world, I'll get to that next, reach out to you. But how has your brand evolved over time?
I think personal branding, I would associate personal branding with the kind of work that I do. In this case, the kind of stories that I tell. And I think personal branding is just being professional, being authentic, being relatable, being accessible. I think these would form the values of my definition of personal brand. So what I mean by that is, but what I mean by professional is I'm telling stories. So my stories have to be nuanced, they have to be inclusive, they have to be diverse. That's how and when I interact with the people I tell stories about, I should make them feel good, I should make them feel comfortable. All of this adds under the umbrella of professionalism. And how do I stay authentic is whatever I see, I just film and I tell. I don't use too many extra graphics or go over the top with editing. I try to keep it very grounded and natural in order to maintain the natural aesthetics and keep it as authentic as possible. That is number two. Number three would be also like really continuously improve your personal brand by working on your writing or filming or editing, and all of that also contributes to how your personal brand looks. And depending on how profound your storytelling is, your clients also become that profound. Like, so your clients are a reflection of your personal brand. So you got to keep continually improving in all of these aspects, I would say. And number four is also being accessible. If anybody hits you up through a mail, through a message, through a comment, try to reply to as many people as possible. People should connect with you as a creator, and so only then that will help you to build your own community. Even if it's 5 people or 10 people, it doesn't matter. Talk to as many people as possible from your audience, and if people need help, send them links, send them any more information as much as you can. Everybody can't do everything, of course, but as much as you can. And I think all of these things would build the whole idea of personal brand. Would you agree with me, Danny?
I completely agree with you, and I also see the points that you mentioned is how the brand transformation is happening is being authentic, being inclusive. Uh, you're also one point that I want to make sure that I highlight the most is how many followers do you have, Sai, altogether?
400,000
Yeah,
across
400,000
the.
is a huge number, and yet I
Okay.
know you still reply to comments. You still reply to inbox messages. So it is your brand evolving, and you're still keeping the values of inclusivity, of responding to your audiences. And that, I think, is the biggest brand evolvement that you've shown across time, and brand consistency as well. Now,
Yeah.
going into we were just talking about the numbers 400,000. You have told 350 stories, and all of them have been the stories about people from India. Why is that?
I think it's because India has so many more stories to tell, and I think India is misrepresented for a large extent, at least in the West. And people have a very short-sighted view of what India is. Number one. Number two is I feel like Western media and global media is centered just around 5, 6 countries. People talk about India only in the last few years, but even now it's just limited to politicians and entertainers. So I just thought that the plurality of India is not properly showcased, and I thought we have 1.5 billion people here, I knew that along with the infinite diversity of cultures, colors, customs, traditions, and lifestyles comes with it a lot of untold stories. So I just thought it's a great time to capitalize and also give a voice for my country, and also try to find my voice in the process.
And
Yeah.
these untold stories, when they are told, how does it make you feel? And how does it make those people who have never been heard outside their society or their community? How does it make them feel?
I think for me every story is like a new book. It's as simple as that. It's like walking into a library, picking up a book and reading their story. So every library has so many different kinds of books. It's just like that. So every story is a new book. So I really immerse into these stories. I spend 1 or 2 hours listening to their story, and then I capture all of it. So I do a very on ground immersive filming experience so that even I can learn, and that's the funnest part of my job, is to meet these incredible people who are also humble and are doing extraordinary things in their ordinary ways, and coming up with such innovative ways of solving some of the biggest problems that are plaguing our world today. So all of these things really, really excite me. New people really excite me. Interesting people really, really excite me. It's just who I am as a person. So I'm delighted to meet all of these people, and I learn a lot. It really excites me. And what is the second half of your question? Sorry.
How does it make them feel?
How does it make them feel? I think they're also happy that someone has traveled so far to listen to them. They're usually excited about that. They treat me really well, and I really like that. There's a small exchange between two humans for 2 3 hours in a very intimate manner, and it's very interesting because I've never seen them, but they immediately share the nitty gritties of their life in just 2 hours. So it's like a very deep exchange for 2 3 hours, and then we part ways. But I do keep in touch with a lot of my stories, and a lot of when their video goes viral, when it reaches millions of people, they're super happy about it. Some of them will be like, oh, okay, my story is great and that's why it's gone viral. Some of them go the extra mile and say, thank you so much, Sai, it's because of you. So people are different. I don't have any expectations. My job is just to tell the story. What happens after I put out the video is not really a measurement of my success as such. It's just one of the parameters, but there's also a lot that goes behind the video, is also what I use to measure how successful the story is. The numbers are very good, but they're not the only parameter for me personally. But it does really well, then it's very helpful for the subject, and some people's life actually change when it gets 10 million views or 15 million views. It goes all around the world, and their business boosts astronomically over a period of time. I'm very happy for all of that, but I'm pretty distant from the losses or successes. Yeah, that's just how I separate
Talking
myself from
about,
the stories.
you said something very, very nice in this conversation. People doing extraordinary things in an ordinary way. You're telling extraordinary stories in an ordinary way. Has there been an extraordinary transformation for one of your stories? has someone shared a thing about, after this it has changed my life? Can you share something like that with us?
I think one thing on the top of my head was about a woman in South India. In fact, she's from Chennai, which is the same place where you are from, Danny. She basically was in a very patriarchal, bureaucratic system during her work. Her work revolves around research and innovation and finding solutions to problems like menstruation for women in rural India and things like that. So this lady called Preeti had so much rejection in her life, like throughout different organizations. She was just done with the world because she was rejected so much, and because of patriarchal biases, they were not giving her enough opportunities, not letting her grow, and all of that. She had a good 6 7 years constant of failures. Okay. And she was like, what is your video going to do? I mean, she told me that I'm not sure, I don't know, because I have had so many failures, but I thought your intentions were good, so that's why I called you to my house. And I go, and her story is basically about how she finds eco-friendly menstrual pads. Okay, something that is super comfortable for women to wear, something that is also very good for the environment, something that is also affordable, and something that is a win-win in all these different areas, in the whole supply chain of the menstrual pad manufacturing as well as using. And the video went absolutely viral, got 10 million views, and she got about 30 to 40,000 followers
Wow.
just because of that video. And she got like tons and tons of orders, thousands of orders, and she started getting calls from different colleges, universities, for conversations, for talks, for workshops, for presentations. And her life took off, like just like, to another level. I don't know what case where she is right now, but this is what happened immediately after the video went viral. And that felt great. That was really nice because there was impact in so many levels, right? Yeah.
And just to add on to this, I like, there are some impact that you might directly be able to measure, like Preeti's story. There are so many impacts that are just unmeasurable or immeasurable, because people are just watching and they are deciding to start something because they've seen your videos, they've seen your
Yeah.
stories. So one sort of a story that I know that not many people outside of your following knows, a huge celebrity. I think she has 69 million followers. I'm not sure. I don't know how many million followers she has. So can you break that down, that story for us? How many followers has? Who is she? What happened? Because it's a very important story to inspire other content creators as well.
That's true. I think her name is Priyanka Chopra. I think she's a former Miss World, Miss India, Miss World, and she's one of the biggest stars to have ever surfaced in the history of Indian cinema, and also right now one of the biggest names in the world. I think she has about 75 million followers. She just happened to watch one of my videos about a community of rural women in a northeastern state called Assam, where they're making a difference with their textile and cloths, etc., etc. And she liked that video, and she immediately followed me. And then I messaged her. Interestingly, when a huge celebrity of that kind of following follows you, when you send them a message, it goes to their personal messages. It does not go in, does not get lost in the DMs. It goes to them directly as a message. Okay, and I messaged her saying that I'm such a huge fan. It's so nice that you supported my video and my work by following me. And then she was so kind enough to respond, saying that I love your work, and I love that you're portraying India, and please continue to bring the glory of India to the world. And that just shook my bones. You can imagine, like, Miss World, and one of the most famous Indians of all time. And that times like that really make you feel like you're doing something, if not anything.
That is also the power of putting yourself out online.
Out there.
You
Yeah.
never know what door
Yeah.
is going to open, who is going to watch, who is going to support you. So with that comes hatred. Sai, I know you put topics out that are personal to you. You stick to your own values, but in the comment section, there's a war going on. How do you
Yeah.
handle it?
I think hate. I mean, the fact that there could be so much hate for such positive stories itself, for me, it's like little shocking. But that's the reflection of our world, and people are divided on so many different subjects, and that's just how the world is. But I once I put out a video, and there's a lot of hate comments. I take a stance, and I write a comment about my very opinionated 2 3 lines, and I pin that comment. Okay. and my job is done there. After that, what happens, I usually don't keep track, I just ignore it fully. And I also deal with it with compassion a lot. I'm like, these people, I don't know what they're going through, I don't know. They're all armchair activists. First of all, I don't take them seriously, and the second is, I don't know what experiences that they have had in order to have so much hate within their minds, and to also polarize people around them. Hate comes from usually a very painful place, is what I understand. And so I just deal with them with compassion. I'm just like, you're probably going through something and you don't know what you're talking about, so I'm just going to separate myself from it. Easier said than done, but 80% of the time I'm very cut off. 20% of the time I do get affected by it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. Like, I try my best. 80%
Yeah.
percentage of the time you can separate yourself, but this 20% might be a big number for some other people.
Yeah.
They might be like
Yeah.
80%, 20%. What
Yeah.
would your sense be for those people? Because, there might be someone who's like just 18, 16, 15, starting now. They might take this so personally. You
Yeah.
have the experience, the maturity, and the journalism background to handle this. But how do you think a youngster should take these kind of hatred?
I think people usually who make comments on social media are people who are hiding behind themselves. Forget hiding behind the world; they're hiding behind themselves. So the problem starts there. So I think you should just be very wary of the fact that it has nothing to do with you, and social media is super superficial, irrespective of how many followers you have. And don't take these things personally. And you shouldn't be defined by a person that you don't know, who doesn't even know you. Like, that makes no sense. Even if a person knows you for 1 or 2 years, even they don't have the right to judge you at such a personal level. But a person who doesn't even know you, can't, I mean, their judgment stands no validity. So I would suggest you to just try to make that distinction and not to take it personally. Yeah.
So your videos are something that I look for all the time because they're very authentic.
That means a lot. Really, it really does mean a lot. Thank you so much for watching and
And it is not
always
just,
coming.
it's every single person that I know in our academy community. They love your videos. They are so authentic. They are told from heart. But authenticity is something which is really hard. How do you do it?
I think with this, I'm still struggling with different ways of authenticity. Number one is the stories I tell. I think I'm a little bit authentic because I just tell what I observe. I don't try to sugarcoat it or exaggerate too much. Or I just the way the lens I view the stories is from a lens of open mind, and I also consume it with an open mind, and I also try to tell it with an open mind. So I guess when you have that intention in place itself, you can ensure authenticity with respect to telling your stories. But personally, as a creator, I still have like my screen presence. I'm a very insecure person in front of the camera. I still struggle with a lot of problems while talking to the camera. I'm not very comfortable. I'm very different on air and off air. I'm much more animated in real life than I'm very structured in front of the camera. So I'm very robotic in front of the camera. So I'm still working on all of those things. I am not. I have as a person. Telling the story and to the camera, I've not yet reached 100% authenticity. I still have a very long way to go, not even 40-50% authenticity. I'm still not comfortable, so that is a work in progress. And there's a lot of improvement and growth needed to do with respect to that aspect.
Yeah, Sai is someone that I've seen, and Sai is very animated and very happy and very positive. What stops Sai from being 100% authentic? Is it something to do with what you've faced from childhood of being a darker color, or facing rejection, or people judging you? What is stopping Sai?
I think it's a mix of all of those things. These things like can be a one-off experience, but they magnify into several and take branches. They branch out into several different ways as you grow up. Your self-respect is something that gets trickled down into every single thing that you do. Right? It's not just an idea. It's something that affects to the core of it. So I think having these experiences at an earlier time has somehow trickled down into different aspects of my personality. And I think I do have subconsciously have an impact of that, and it's very deep, so I'm trying to unlearn all of that. I'm also a very confident person, but I'm also a not very confident person. Like, I've been diagnosed with imposter syndrome, and I think It's a very normal problem, and I'm just trying to work on it and boost confidence in areas that I'm unnecessarily being underconfident at. And yeah, I'm just doing a lot of inner work and trying to be more and more self-aware to see where these problems are arising from, so that I can work on it and in a sustainable manner solve the problem in the long term. If that makes sense. Is it a very elaborate answer?
No, no, it doesn't. It is perfect, and I'm because you're. I know you, Sai. You're very open, honest, and vulnerable. This question, if I don't ask you now, I don't think I can ask any other Indian guests. So I spoke to some of the other creators in the Western countries.
Mm-hmm.
Going to therapy or seeking someone a professional help is very, very common and normal. And you and I
Mm-hmm.
know it's the same thing in India, right?
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least in in the main cities, yes, people do
Yeah.
can go to therapy. Do you think, as a creator, as a friend, as someone who's inspiring people, should also talk about this and create awareness like, hey, me as a creator, having 400,000 followers, I have insecurity. Do
Yeah.
you ever think about doing certain stories? Because I know when I was living in India, if I have to go to a therapy, I have something mentally wrong. That's the thought that I had. People were like, oh,
Yeah.
he must, mentally something.
Yeah. 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 At least back in the day, yes.
What
Yeah.
is your thought, and what is your take on that, and how it can help yourself and other creators?
I think again, imposter. The first, my immediate instinct would be my imposter syndrome stepping in and being like, "Hey, who the hell are you to talk about these problems? You've gone through nothing in life, and you've not done so much that you can go out and give advice to people about how they can tackle their own mental issues, especially which is something super subjective." So I have insecurity even talking about my insecurities. You know what I mean? So. That is the problem, and I can do it if I put my mind to it. I can 100% do it, but I'm just telling you my thought process about how yeah, the first instinct would be my imposter idea about myself stepping in. I have to combat that and only then put out a video, and in order to combat that, I have taken an oath to myself. Whether I follow it or not, we have to see. But I've promised myself that this year, every month, I'll do at least 1 or 2 videos that is something super personal to me, that is something that way more vulnerable than the usual stories that I do. I hope I end up doing that. I've been trying to push that as long as possible, but I really want to do that, and hopefully this year I could do that, and that could help me like battle these things much more if I
It
do it
is.
in a much.
I think I don't know if who is going to be happy watching that video. I'm going to be super happy. I know
Thank you.
that will inspire me to do a video like that. I know that will inspire 100 more creators who are following you to do a video like that. So please do that video and inspire us to be more vulnerable online.
Yes, Danny, thank you. I take that.
So Sai has built a community of 400,000 followers. How important is building a community?
Building a community is very important these days, especially at a time. By that I don't mean like build your following community. I mean like build something in tandem, in a parallel manner to your following base, because right now the algorithm is not it's just taking your videos everywhere. It doesn't take necessarily to your followers. Even if 400,000 people follow you, it just takes your videos to only 10% of that audience. That means only like 40,000 people get to see it every single time, even though you have 400,000 followers. So, depending on how those 440,000 people engage, is when it's extrapolated into a much more magnified audience, right? So, basically, you don't have control of the algorithm, and it is very important to build your own small community that really resonates with you on a personal level, and that wants to buy the knowledge or consume the knowledge, and believes in what you say and in your values and your mission, so that they could also so that could also translate into them buying your product. You can't depend on ads all the time, especially in developing countries where the cost per view is like super less. And you can't always depend on brands because there's a lot of uncertainty there, and it depends on a lot of market factors. So I would suggest you to start thinking in a direction. Even I'm also starting to do it, only now it's not that I've achieved it. Yeah, start thinking in a direction where you could start building your own small community with 100 or 200 people who believe in what you do and what you say and what you sell, so that you could have a constant source of income. At the same time, also have like-minded people inspire you and yeah, give you food for thought every now and then. Yeah.
Yes, and I completely agree with building your own community. Community is the way you grow, and when you give, you become better. When you teach, you become better. So, this is
Right.
something that I wanted to ask you, Sai. 5 years ago, working in a corporate job versus now, Sai, who has a strong personal brand, and how has your finance improved?
I think definitely I feel like I have I feel more secure than myself with respect to the fact that I'm a professional who is like decently recognized for my work, even if it's not a lot, if it's at least basic recognition. And I do feel that I have been given an identity because of social media and the fact that there's a lot of personal branding that comes with it. And definitely my personal brand has evolved in so many ways. uh, Apart from that, your opportunities increase as well when you reach more people, when you have a better personal brand. So you have so many different opportunities, so many different doors open, and so many facets of your personality open when you have your personal brand. You can explore within your personality, even though it's not about you, it's about your work. Your work is an extension of who you are, right? So I think you can explore different facets of your interests. For me, content creation has not just been making videos, it's also about travel, it's about meeting people, it's about building communities, it's about building experiences, it's also about education, it's also about consultation, it's also about different things like this that you don't get in a standard job that helps you for the most of the time at least explore just one dimension, one vertical. This is super multi-dimensional, and if you can juggle all of it, which you will learn to do, there's nothing like it. And financially, I think I earn at least, if to give you simple numbers, at least 7 8 times that what I used to earn just like 4 years ago, 7 8 times a month. And that's a lot in any corporate standard and Indian standard, I would say. So uh, yeah, I think yeah.
I'm so happy for your side. Financially, you're doing very well because you chose to follow the route of building your own brand and telling stories that you love the most and inspiring people.
Thank you,
And
Danny.
you're welcome. And I also know a part of Sai avoids talking about something that's controversial. What is that controversial thing you avoid talking about publicly?
I think it's a religion, like because people take it so seriously in India, and it's too much now. We live in a very polarized country, especially right now. The country is super divided and polarized with respect to the idea of religion, and I just feel like it is a human construct. Religion is a human construct, so I just feel like it's unnecessary to talk about religion because it divides people unnecessarily, and a lot of people already doing that. And for that, and for the fact that I don't want to spread negativity, is two reasons why I want to refrain from talking about politics or religion. Both, they don't interest me, and I feel like there's more harm to do than any good in terms of content. So I would just refrain from it. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Sai. We're almost coming to the end of the podcast. If someone wants to get that job, if someone wants to get that promotion, if someone wants to start their own business, do they need to work on their personal brand?
Yes, 100%. You need to. And when you work on your personal brand, you're not just dependent on any company to give you a designation or to give you an identity and tell you what you're capable of. With personal brand, you can take charge of how much knowledge you have, how much knowledge you create, and how much you can share, how much you can quote, how much you can sell. You become the driver's seat of your profession, and I think that's a very powerful thing, and that leads to a path of freedom of time, money, choice, and experience, and mistakes, freedom of all kinds. And I think every individual deserves to have that.
Sai, thank you so much for being vulnerable, having a beautiful value of showing stories of people that matter. Thank you for telling us why it is important to highlight the people and be behind the camera. Thank you for saying that your personal brand is going to open more doors for you. And most importantly, thank you for being yourself and telling what are your faults and how you can improve. I really appreciate your time in being this podcast, and I hope all the best for the future.
Thank you so much, Danny, for having me. It's been a pleasure. I love talking to you in general. So this was just like another conversation that I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you for the amazing questions. You put in so much work into this. I really appreciate how professional and how understanding you've been throughout this process. And I can't wait to see this reach all across the world.
Thank you so much. And to all our listeners, if you love this podcast, please follow all of the Sai social handles we'll put down in the description below. And if you like this podcast, please follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Spotify. Until next time, this is me, Danny, signing off. Let's go.